we have ourselves a bar chart. So let's see what the questions tell us. They say the incomplete diagram. Incomplete. I wonder what needs to be completed, right? So the incomplete diagram below shows the monthly sales of scooters for the months January to April. That sounds like the period of time that we have right now. Oh, what do you know? So here is our bar chart. And in our bar chart, we have sales on our vertical side here, and horizontally we have the months, right? And our sales go up in thousands, so we have 0 to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, right? We have our bars, January, February, something missing in March, and then April. So they told us that the mean monthly sale for the period January to April is 3,000, and they want us to calculate total sales for the period. Alright? So let's just start off first of all by thinking about this question. If they tell us that the mean is 3,000, what do you understand by the word mean? Is it to be aggressive and harsh to somebody? That's what they're talking about, the mean monthly sale? What do they mean by the word mean? So I want you to think about it a little bit. If you've never heard of the word mean before, I want you to think about average, right? And we're dealing with statistics. So this word is very specific to statistics, right? So what is the mean? Any thoughts? Okay, you know, on your report card for end of term, right? You would have, well, throughout your history, you would have had different subjects, right? So you would have had social studies and science, and you would have English, and you would have arts, and you would have PE and mathematics. And then you would see on your report card, you'd have a score for every subject, but then your final grade and your rank and your average would come from finding the total score that you would have gotten for all the subjects and dividing it by the number of subjects that you did. So whenever we talk about the mean, we're talking about the average.
Added all numbers.
Right, you would add all together and divide it by how many you have. But in this case, they're telling us what the mean is. So how many months, so for us to figure this one out, I want you to tell me something. How many months did they take the sales of? How many months did they take the sales of? Because they said they're taking the monthly sales of scooters for the months January to April. So how many months would that period of time span? January to April, how many months is that? So count it. January is 1 month. Are we going all the way till April? How many months is that? I find you leaving my hanging in. 4 months, right? So the average sales for the first 4 months, that's what we want to use, right? So average sales for the first 4 months is $3,000. The number of months we just said is 4. So a shortcut way of working out, right? So we want the total sales, right? So I was now saying something there. Total sales for this period. Now we could read off the bars and try to figure out what is the sale for January, February, and April, and then try to guesstimate March, but we're not going to do that, right? We don't need to do that right now. What we actually need to do is this. They just want the total sales. So if we know what is the average sale for the past 4 months, what we're going to do is calculate the total sales by multiplying. What do you think we're going to multiply?
4.
4 by
3,000.
There you go, 4 by 3,000. Because if the average sale for the 4 months is 3,000, that means what they're telling us basically is that every month for that period, on average, means that we would have had the same amount of sales for each one. So it's like if we divided the number of sales for each month equally for the first 4 months of the year, these should have all been 3,000 each for us to get the total sales for that period, right? So that's not actually the case.
Is that 12,000?
Correct. Because 4 by 3 is 12,000, right? So you see how knowing your timetables make that so easy to work out? Because I was just going to write it out because I know sometimes the addition is a little easier for you. But for 4 months, if your sales would have been 3,000 for 4 months, you're basically adding 3,000 4 times and you would get the 12,000, which is what we have here, right? So that's 12,000. So we're going to write that in on our answer line. Now, the last part of the question is to draw in the missing bar in the bar chart. And the missing bar in the bar chart is the bar for March, right? Now, the only way that we will know what height to draw this bar for March is we need to figure out what is the height of each of these bars and figure out, well, because each one is representing a certain amount of sales, if the 4-month period totals to 12,000, then the difference between the 3 months that we have should give us the height of the bar for March. Alright, so what we're going to do first of all, let's start off by looking at each bar and trying to figure out what is the height of each bar. So in some cases it's not that clear and easy to see, so I'll probably just draw in a line to kind of help with reading off the values, right? So for January, what is the total sales for January? To figure that out, you're going to look at where the height of the bar is, and then you're going to read across to the vertical side here.
3,000.
Very good. So we can write that in, right? So the total sales for this period for January month is 3,000. So writing it on the bar so we can see it, right? Okay, next one is February. So for February, right, this one, it not so clear to see, right? But it's somewhere in between 4,000 and 5,000. So let's just say it was halfway between 4,000 and 5,000. What number do you think is halfway between 4,000 and 5,000? So first of all, remember I said we're going up in increments of 1,000, meaning that every major line that we see on this is 1,000, right? So the space between it is representing $1,000, right? What's half of 1,000?
900.
Half of 1,000. Half. If you had to split, if mommy was splitting $1,000 between you and your brother, right, and she's splitting it equally, how much money she would give both of you? So I'm just writing it on the side here to help you out a little bit, right? We're dividing 1,000 by 2. 2 into 1 cannot, but 2 into 10 is
500.
right. So look at that. You see, you now figure it out for me. So it's 500. So halfway between 4,000 and 5,000 would be what number? You would add 500 to the 4,000. So what number is that? Add
500.
Yeah, add 500 to 4,000. What would you get?
$4,500.
Right. So this bar here is at 4,500, right? So I'm going to write that on the bar itself in yellow, right? And like I would say, I don't think the questions that they bring these days would have graphs like going into that scale in detail, but I'm just doing this because I want you to be able to do this question because you can more than do it. All right. Last one is the April bar. So we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to draw a line, and this one also looks like it's like halfway between, but this time halfway between 2,000 and 3,000. And the only reason why I'm using the halfway is because I'm not focusing too much on the scaling, right? If I was focusing on the scaling, then we would have to be a little bit more precise, but I'm just doing it this way to make it a little easier for you. So what is halfway between 2,000 and 3,000? What number you think is halfway between 2,000 and 3,000? So you remember what we did with the 4,500 just now? Because the bar was halfway between 4,000 and 5,000, right? So halfway between 2,000 and 3,000, what do you think is that number?
300 and 200.
Alright, remember what we said before, right? Each block is representing $1,000. So if each big block is representing $1,000, between 2,000 and 3,000 is 1,000. What's half of the 1,000? You had find that from earlier. What's half of 1,000?
500.
Right. And remember, if we do the 500, you add it to the lower value. So the 2,000, I want you to add 500 to that and tell me what number is halfway between the 2,000 and the 3,000 now. So when you add the 500 to the 2,000, what you getting?
$1,502.
No. Add the 500 only to the 2,000. Remember, we did that with the 4,000 just now. So what would you get?
2,500.
Right. There you go. Right? 2,500. So we now know what are the sales for each month. January is 3,000. February is 4,500. April is 2,500. We don't know what the sales for March looks like. But we do know that in total, they had a sale for that period of 12,000. Right? So January, February, March, April all totaled up to 12,000. So what do you think we could do with these numbers so that we could figure out how much sales they made in March? What do you think we could do? So if I know how much money we make in January, and how much money we make in February, and how much money we make in April, and I don't know how much we make in March, but I do know how much we make in total for the entire time.
1,500.
Say it back again.
1,500.
How you get that? What you do?
Lucky guess.
Alright, we're not guessing. Come. I want you to tell me what to do. Make it make sense. Because it might not be what you're saying, eh? So here's what you actually should do. If you know how much you make in January, February, and April, add them all together for me.
January, February, and
Yeah, so add them together for me. So we add in 3,000, 4,500 and 2,500. We add in all three. When you add it all together, tell me what you're getting. So one's column only have zeros, so we put zeros. Tens column only have zeros, so we put zeros. Hundreds column have 0, 5, and 5. What's the sum of them 3 digits?
10,000.
Let me see if you're getting 10,000. 5 and 5 is 10. Just now, 5 and 5 is 10. I have to add 1 here. Good. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. Yes, it is 10,000. So if the sales for the 3 months we know is 10,000, how are we going to get the amount of sales that they made in March? Remember, that's what we want to do, you know. So I know how much we make for the 3 months. I know how much we're supposed to make based on the average for the 4 months. So what am I doing with these numbers to be able to get how much sales they made in March?
Subtract.
Very good. So what are we subtracting?
3,400 and 2,500,000.
Just now. Say it back again. What we want to subtract to get the sales for March?
3,400 and 5,205. Yeah.
You sure you want to go and subtract? We just add it. We just add it. Alright, let me make your life a little easier. I want you to take the 12,000 and the 10,000. Do something with them two numbers for me. You say subtract. Subtract them from Antamo. We're gonna.
Okay. $2,000.
Right. So the difference between these two numbers is 2,000, and that is actually the sale that they would have made for March. $2,000. Right? So now we have to do the last part, which is to complete the diagram by drawing in the bar. So the bar for March needs to go all the way up to 2,000. So I'm just going to make a little yellow line to show us where 2,000 is, right? So 2,000, oh gosh, forget line. So this yellow line that I'm drawing in now is where the bar has to stop, right? And unfortunately, like I said, because of the scaling or the scan, it kind of messing it up, but it's around there, right? So I'm going to draw in the bar, and basically, if we remember, I said that one big block is $1,000. So how many big blocks should I draw the bar to cover for $2,000? Hit me. One big block is 1,000. So how many big blocks should I have for 2,000?
200 and 500.
No, what I'm asking, if I have to make the bar, right, and we say that 1,000 is one big block on the grid, how many big blocks should I cover to show 2,000?
Two.
There you go. So we're going to draw the bar up till there, right? So I'm going to draw it in now. I'll draw it in with red. Actually, no, let's use blue. Blue color. So this is where the bar would be. Right, and I'll shade it in as well, so that way we would have that just like the rest of the bars, right? So this is the bar that we just drew in. Right? And that's it. Right? So this question in particular is a section 3 question. So you see, section 3 questions are not just straightforward questions. They're application. the analytic type questions. So that's why we need to be able to know the foundational things really, really, really good. And we also need to be able to analyze problems really well on our own. Alright? You did pretty fine with this one. So that's the end of that.